Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today we're going to talk about cosmetics, which are an important part of any video game, and especially a game like DDO with obviously D&D roots. You're going to have a lot of people who enjoy cosmetics for role-playing purposes or just personal expression purposes, or some people like me probably who just mostly use them because I get bored looking at the same thing all the time and I want to switch it up from time to time. But in any case, there's a lot of different cosmetics in DDO. The first one being cosmetic customization. Obviously, when you create your character, a lot of different options. There are, when it comes to, of course, your hair, your nose, your build type. When I say build type, I mean like face structure, chin structure, things like that. There's also cosmetic armor and helmet slots, which they seem to really be pushing in the past couple years, which I think is a good thing, and I'll talk more about that later. Hair dyes. There are pet companions, which I don't recall them pushing this as much as they have in the past few years, but I think it's a cool little addition to DDO, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it just based on the fact of how many they've made and how many they put into the store. It seemed like we went through a period a couple years ago where they were introducing a new pet like every single month. They've since introduced other cosmetic things like cosmetic eyes, cosmetic shields, and then there of course is what I think is by far the best cosmetic tool in the game, and one of the unique tools when it comes to DDO, and that's the Mirror of Glamoring, which have not been in the game for too long, but I think they're really cool, really excellent, and something that the community I think demanded for a long time, and I'm glad they finally put those into the game a couple years ago. So as I've mentioned before, I personally have always had cosmetics, I've always liked them being in the game because it's a way for DDO to keep the lights on without negatively affecting the game in any way. So a lot of people will complain about things that I would imagine, now obviously I don't know for sure, but I would imagine are big sellers for SSG, things like autos boxes or things like tomes, which people like to buy, but there's also some complaints from the community, which I think justifiably so, that they might hurt the game because they are things that are power creepy. So it's pay to get better. So as in case of tomes, you literally pay money to make your character better, or things like autos boxes where you pay to skip content. But when it comes to cosmetics, they are things that don't affect the actual stats of your character. They don't affect the actual gameplay. Now, you could argue that cosmetic is a big part of the gameplay itself, but they don't actually affect tangible things. So when I'm talking about tangible things, I mean things like stats. It's not like if you throw a cosmetic helmet on your character becomes better or it levels faster, anything like that. So it's a good way, I think, for SSG to make money, which they need to make to keep the lights on, of course. And I want them to make money, and I want the game to do really well. So it's a good way for them to make money without actually damaging the core of the game in any way, or adding power creep or trivializing the efforts of others, I guess would be the best way to put it. And especially in a game like DDO, where I think they're very reasonable with the prices on cosmetics. I mean, you look at other games, they have huge prices for cosmetics, but DDO, what does a Mirror Glamoring cost? A couple bucks, $2-3, and that lets you create a cosmetic armor or robe or helmet or whatever of literally any, well, not literally, but pretty much any kind of outfit or armor you might find in the game. So that's very reasonable compared to what other games do. So I really like DDO's system. I think it's very good compared to other games. So that's one of the best things about cosmetics. It's a way you can express yourself and support the game. Cosmetics are also awesome because it's a way to let yourself express yourself personally, and a lot of people are really into role playing. Me, not really, but there are people who are really into role playing who really want to present a certain type of character. So they might want a certain like elven sorcerer that looks a very certain way or wears a very certain robe, and that fits with that character's biography that they've created. So that's really cool that you can do that in DDO. There's a lot more options with the Mirror of Glamoring. Of course, there are tons and tons of different options for armor or helmet cosmetics in the game. So there's a lot of different possibilities, better than other games where they might just have a fixed set of cosmetics. And DDO used to be that way, by the way. There used to be fixed cosmetic armors that you could buy. There was not, before the Mirror of Glamoring, it was a lot more restrictive in terms of what you could buy. So you might buy something like the ninja looking robe that I think around the level 20 time, I remember that was pretty popular for monks. So you would buy that, but you wouldn't really be that unique because there's a lot of people running around with that as well. But definitely in DDO, you can find an armor or some kind of really out there armor that you might find in just some random quest that you don't see anyone wearing that you can glamour and then look unique in the game. There's a lot of different combinations, and of course a lot of different armor types and race types to really create a character that looks the way you want it to. And as I've already mentioned, DDO obviously has D&D roots, and it's even more important that you be able to do this in a game like this, because I think DDO has a much more I would say older audience than other MMOs from my experience. And I think the older players are more concerned about things with cosmetics and not as concerned about min-maxing. So on the whole, I think there's a lot more people who are playing casually in DDO than there might be in other MMOs, just because the audience itself is older. Not that you can't be older and play the game on a min-max perspective, but I think the players who are older are going to have less time than, say, MMOs or online games that are popular with like high school and college kids. So they're less likely to be really min-maxy. The Mirror of Glamoring also made grinding for gear more than just a grind for stats. So before Mirror of Glamoring was around, you might have liked the look of a certain armor or robe, but you knew that you couldn't wear it because the stats weren't that great. So even if you say like the blood plate, for example, which is a heroic level item, if you like the blood plate the way it looks, you couldn't wear it because it wasn't viable when you got to higher levels. Now you could wear it, I guess, and have a character that wasn't very good, like or who isn't optimized. But for the most part, you're not going to wear a heroic level armor when you get into epics, just because the stats aren't going to compare to what you can get there, even if you like the cosmetics. So it was nice to have the Mirror of Glamoring that lets you grind for an armor you might like, and then take the cosmetic look of it and apply it to an armor with better stats. And this was also a problem. I remember there's been some armors and robes that I really didn't like the look of that I had to wear because they were good. The stats was really good. So I remember, like, back in the day, I would wear the Dragon Mark armor from Reaver's Reach, so the custom armor you can make there. And I really didn't like the look of it, but I had to wear it because it was like the best option at the time. And I know a lot of people had that. I think the most infamous example of this is the Core Forge Docent from what's the I can't remember the name of the pack right now. Oh, the Inspired Quarter area. So it was like a pink looking Docent. A lot of people really didn't like that, but it was a pretty good Docent for certain builds, so they had to wear it. So no more dealing with that kind of problem. Now let's talk about what I personally do when it comes to cosmetics. I'm not like that big on cosmetics, but as I said, I do like to cycle through some different cosmetic looks, as you guys might have seen if you watch my videos and watch the gameplay. I have maybe 3 to 4 different looks that I might cycle through just as I get bored. So in this gameplay you're watching right now, I'm wearing this silver and gold looking armor that I found. That's just a random loot gen armor that I found in Glamored, and I really like the look of it. I like the gold shoulder pads, kind of fits in with the cleric, and also it's good with the cleric aura, I think. And it just goes good with the type of build I want to present. But I have that, and I also have Glamored, a few other Glamored options. I think I have a Glamored green dragon scale armor. I have a Glamored slave rags from the Slave Lords pack. So I have a few like that I just cycle through as I get bored. I'll just throw those on. A few helmets as well. But for me, it's good enough for that. I don't really care that much about role-playing, but I do get bored looking at the same thing, so I do want to switch it up from time to time. It's nice to be able to do that. So when it comes to cosmetics, what are the type of cosmetics I would like to see introduced in the game if I wanted to see some new ones introduced? I really like the pets. I think that's cool. I don't use them personally. I have a few of them that I've gotten through giveaways, and I think I've maybe bought one. But I don't use them regularly, but I think it's a really cool idea for the game because it has no downsides. I think there was some people saying it caused lag in the past. I'm not convinced that that's true, but it's a good way for people who like to collect that stuff. They seem to be popular because, as I mentioned before, they have tons of them in the store, and it seemed like they went for a few years there. They kept introducing a new pet. It seemed like every month, so they're really popular. So I think it's cool if people want to collect that and use that. The one pet I would like to see is a clay golem pet, just because it's my mascot on the YouTube channel here. So it'd be cool if they introduced that. If they did, I would probably have it out when I record gameplay, just because it would fit in with my theme here. And can we get some beards for Purple Dragon Knights? That's always annoyed me as someone who likes putting beards on their male characters. But guys, why don't you comment below and let me know what cosmetic you would like to see if a new one was to be introduced. I'd be interested in reading what you have to say. But yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. You all have a good one. I'll see you next time. Take care.